Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is our weekly scene for the package team. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And we have a long agenda. Tim, do you want to start?
Yeah, just a suggestion for an idea with some new people starting. I was going through the backlog and noticed that we have a lot of issues in there. There was like over 1,000 in the project. A lot of duplicates and some things that maybe won't get done for a long time. So I tried to move things to the icebox or awaiting further demand. I think there's some more cleanup that can be done. There's a lot of technical debt or backstage issues that I'm not sure if they're still relevant or not. So the ask is if you could go through any issues that you opened and kind of just do a quick, is this going to get done in the next 6 to 9 months? And then put it into awaiting further demand. And we could always revisit it. It's good to have them still around. I don't want to close them, but it would also be nice if we could have a trimmer backlog so we have more clear direction on what we're doing.
I was going to ask how we should consider items like technical debt or follow-up issues, but you kind of answered it as you talked through it.
I kind of did this thing of like a priority 1, 2, 3, or Z. So like a 1 is something, we should get to this in the next milestone or 2. 2 is like the next 3 to 6. 3 probably 6 months to a year. And a Z is like, I don't even know when we're going to get to this. So I think those can go into awaiting further demand pretty safely. And if you have any questions, you could always ping me in the issues and we could discuss there. Thanks.
Very good. Joel?
Yeah, so I was thinking about, because sometimes I struggle to understand how a feature works or is implemented on the Rails side without jumping to the source code or following multiple issues and MRs to see how it was created. So I wonder if we should have or already have some kind of technical document for each one of our features, like cleanup policies, dependency proxy, to detail how it works internally, like which classes are being used, which queues on the Sidekick side, the database as well, and keep that document up to date whenever a change is made to the feature. Because one of the examples that I gave here is the cleanup policies, where David has done a great job with the re-architecture of the feature and improvements, and also wrote excellent documentation across multiple issues and MRs. And I think it would be useful to have all that information in a single document, in a single place, so that it is easier for others when they have to review MRs or just deal with debug an issue, or just try to understand how it works, but also for us as engineers, because we don't have to repeat ourselves when giving context and background to others. We can just direct people to a document or a section of that document instead of repeating ourselves in multiple issues and MRs, because it becomes repetitive, and at the same time that dialogue will change over time as the feature changes as well. So I think this could be a good idea, and probably if it works for us, maybe it could even be a good idea for others as well.
Yeah, I think I will voice my comments here. So yeah, I was thinking if you wanted to have architecture blueprints, but at the package team scale. But yeah, from your comment, it seems that it's not exactly what we are looking for.
Yeah, architecture blueprints are more like an architecture decision record, which is used in many companies, not at GitLab, but it's our version of that, and that's mainly used when you want to do a big change or ship a really big thing, and you need to justify why you are doing it, what are the pros and the cons. Basically, make a case for what you want to achieve and implement. And in this case, it's not necessarily about that. It's more about documenting how what we have right now works and keeping up to date with every change that we make.
Okay. I think that this discussion should happen on an issue so that is tracked and public. So perhaps it's a good idea to open an issue on the tracker of the team. And lastly, we can use cleanup policies as the first candidate to whatever approach we choose.
So, yeah, can you open the issue to kick off the conversation?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I really like this topic, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think cleanup policies are probably the best start because it's just a matter of grabbing what David wrote across all those issues and MRs and putting them into a single document. So it's probably the one that will give us less work. Yeah, on to Steve.
Yeah, I was going to mention that we do have that documentation of kind of like how we attempt to implement package managers. And so maybe that's a good place to start branching off to add more docs. But also I have seen other teams use the handbook for explaining some aspects of how things work. So I don't know if one would be better than the other. I'd probably prefer the Rails docs because it's all in the same project. And then I also noticed that we do have some modules that have inline documentation commented in the code. And I'm not sure if that's something we should consider for different areas of our code as well, or when that might be warranted.
Yeah, I think those comments are always valuable, but this document can pay off when you look at the big picture, like joining all of the pieces. And then if you want really low level details, yeah, we can point people to the code. Because in the end, this is for engineers' eyes mainly. So yeah. Nico?
Yeah, I think, sorry,
Sorry.
I was going to jump, sorry. So I think the important here is when you kick off the issue, let's be sure that we are clarifying why do we want to do this. And the approach is to have a single place to have all the information about high level details of the implementations and architecture decisions that we had. And then from there go somewhere else. And then we can kick off the conversation if this should be on the handbook or on the docs directly, or where do we want to have it? Nico?
Yeah, so I just wanted to rely some of the experience that I have accumulated with open source project. When there is a lot of contributors, static documentation goes out of date in a second and it generates a lot of confusion. So the more we can rely on documentation on the code, even structured with JSDoc, the better off we are, because the chances that somebody coming in and updating something and then reading, first of all, and maintaining that kind of documentation is higher, and it's easier for the viewer to actually catch it and say, you know, look, you updated this function, we need to update the doc. And if we use a parsable format, we can also generate good documentation out of it. There is some stitching to do, but it's much easier to keep it in up to date that way.
Haley?
Yeah, I would worry about this document drifting away from the implementation over time. I mean, comments that are right next to the code you change will drift away. So having a document that's in another project and like completely out of the screen when you're working, I think would be even more susceptible to this sort of drift. And I'm also worried that someone who is going to take a naive approach to understanding this is going to go to the code. And then how will they find this documentation from the code? You know, compared to comments, which are, you know, in situ. on to David.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any more comments on this.
I would like just to close the like, well, not close it, but just clarify. Definitely, we need to clarify why do we want to have documentation. I think I got the point from your own. Why do we want to do it? But there is also the like documentation never keeps updated if we do it in the not right approach. So definitely we need to have an issue and have this discussion. Thank you, David. Now.
Okay, so the recordings of the Postgres training are available. Just a quick note that the issue is confidential, so be careful with those links. This is the last item, but still can verbalize this comment.
I was going to say, I do believe there's an expiration to how long they'll be available, which I think is 2 weeks, but they will go away at some point.
Oh my God, I'm not going to have time to see those recordings in 2 weeks.
But
Okay.
why?
Good to know.
Why do they expire? Sorry, because of the sensitivity of it?
It was just part of the contract when we set up with this consultancy. That was their terms.
If you want more time, you have to pay more, basically.
Yeah. Otherwise, we would have the recordings from last year still, right?
Okay. Do we have something else? I hope everybody's with a good level of energy today. It's Monday. We don't have 360s or trainings or anything. And it's our last week for the milestone drive. So I hope energies are in the right place. Okay,